The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the platform where virtually any statement can be turned into a debate, the Great Debaters Contest. I am your host, Esperanza Kapanga.
And I am Chris Buru, and today's bone of contention is based on energy. Today's motion is Africa should embrace nuclear technology to meet her energy needs.
Proposing the motion is State House Girls High School.
And opposing the motion, we have Karima Girls High School. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be discussing the case of Africa should embrace nuclear technology to meet her energy demands. I, being the defendant, the name is Nicole Olo from State House Girls. What is nuclear technology? Nuclear technology is that involves nuclear reactions from the atomic nuclei. We have different forms of nuclear technology, such as nuclear medicine, where we have the chemotherapy, the radiotherapy, X-rays, and CT scans. We have nuclear weapons, where we have the missiles, and we have nuclear energy. So let's go back to Africa. Africa, as a continent, is in need of energy. World Bank, a UN organization, issued a statement in the year 2015 that Africa is in an energy crisis. That, without saying, means it's a bad thing. Africa has a lot of third world countries, and this means that we have a lot of industrialization taking place as we want to develop. So the amount of energy required is a lot, and the sources of energies we're using currently are not enough. This is from a source, Rosatom.com and conserveenergy.com, that states 500 million people in Africa live without electricity. In Kenya, we have examples of power rationing, and we want that to stop. So, we also should embrace nuclear energy because, one, nuclear energy produces 10 times more energy than fossil fuels. These are the gases and coal that we are using currently. But as we can see, it is not sufficient. Secondly, nuclear energy and technology is environmental friendly. We can look at Europe, for example. It has reduced 700% of its carbon footprint on this earth. This is according to conserveenergy.com. So imagine if we could do the same for Africa. We are farmers as Africans. We have a lot of agriculture taking place. That means we need a pleasant environment. Another reason we should use nuclear technology is because we have all the reasons to. Africa produces 18% of uranium, which is needed in nuclear production of energy. Furthermore, we have agencies like the International Atomic Agency Association that sponsor such projects. So if we have a problem with our economy, the agency can step in and give us the economic help we need. Furthermore, I would urge us to use nuclear technology because to move forward, we actually have to take a step. How many times will we keep on making the same mistake? Furthermore, we need to protect ourselves. Other countries are arming themselves with nuclear weaponry. We cannot sit back and wait for them to attack us. Even right now, it's like a vaccination. We need to protect ourselves and be ready for their attack. Thank you.
First proposer, you have 3 minutes to present your case.
When a deal is too good, think twice. Shanice Agose, here to oppose this motion that Africa should embrace nuclear technology to meet her energy needs. As our first proposer had said, most of African countries are third world. And for Africa to embrace such technology, it would be a drastic move because it is costly. A nuclear plant, according to the OECD Nuclear Energy Agency, requires $4 billion to install and a further $2 billion for planning. Can we of Africans meet such costs? We are already in so much debt. Can we handle nuclear technology? Furthermore, as it is of now, there is only one institution in Africa offering nuclear engineering, and that is the Institute of Nuclear Engineering in South Africa. Is that enough skilled manpower to face and cater for Africa as a whole? So basically, if we want to start a nuclear plant in Africa, that would mean import expatriates from outside, and that would cost us so much money. Can we be able to pay such people? To be able to drill and harness uranium, you would need technology, equipment, manpower, and that is so much cost. Let's take, for example, an incident that happened in our country, where cancer machines were imported, which cost us 38 million per month. They were distributed to each county, and some machines were reported unused. Why? Because we lacked the required personnel to run these machines. And if we cannot be able to handle these machines, what are we against nuclear power plants? This coupled with the fact that global nuclear industry continues to suffer major risks of project failure and abandonment. For instance, in USA, out of 259 US nuclear units offered between 1955 and 2018, 128 were prematurely closed later, 34 abandoned before startup. And out of the 97 remaining units, 49 were deemed uneconomically viable. 35 suffered 45-year-plus safety-related outages, and only 28 units, 11%, remain economically viable. So nuclear technology is dying globally. So with this, we believe that taking up nuclear technology as Africa is too big a step for us. We oppose the motion. Thank you.
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes to file your rebuttal.
So my purpose here today is to stand and show as to why Africa should embrace nuclear technology to meet her energy needs. My name is Doreen Wawira from State House Girls High School. Now, the opponents say that in embracing nuclear technology, it's going to be costly. Now, remember, for you to actually create nuclear technology, you need a radioactive material known as uranium. As cited in Rosatom, cited by my first proposer, 18% is already being produced in the African continent. And with a proper development and strategy plan, using trade blocks such as COMESA or COAS, we can tap into specific countries that have the highest rate in this uranium material to actually support and influence in the development of the other regions that surround that specific country. We also have, she has also talked about skilled manpower, but let me remind you that there is brain drain. We have the skilled manpower, but why are they leaving our countries to go out and look for other job employment opportunities outside? It's because there are no employment opportunities. Now, with implementation of nuclear technology, with us embracing, accepting it, we create more employment opportunities in the creation of industries that will be using this technology. And in the creation of more employment opportunities, we are also reducing the brain power, because I do not see the need of me having to go outside when I can stay here and there's already employment opportunities provided for me. There's also the improvement of living standards. I am able to pay tax to my government that will lead to the economic alleviation, and it will also lead to the development of my country as a citizen. Now also, look at also other various advantages that have been mentioned other than the medicine sector. There's also the agricultural sector. There are processes such as plant mutation that seedlings are exposed to irradiation to create better mutation or hybrid varieties that will increase crop production. Now, with many countries, and a very good example is our very own Kenya, being or relying on agriculture as its backbone, this will lead to food sustainability. So we're going to be able to alleviate hunger, we're going to alleviate the effects of drought. We also have its competitive cost. Now, currently in Africa, we are overly dependent on fossil fuels. And in the case that, for example, oil decreases, then that means an influx in the market prices, but nuclear technology always will stay stable. We also have, now, I know that there might be some disadvantage, such as it might be costly, but that should not be a limiting factor as to why we should not implement nuclear technology, as why we should not embrace nuclear technology for us to meet our energy demands, as we want to achieve the bigger picture here. Thank you.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes to file your rebuttal.
My proposals talked about nuclear energy being environmental friendly. I do not disagree this. But I also want to say that wind farms do not emit carbon and actually reduce carbon emissions. According to American Wind Energy Association, a 750 kilowatt wind turbine reduces carbon emissions equal to a 500-acre forest. That would mean reducing global warming. She also talked about uranium being widely available. What she did not mention is uranium is found in only 3 countries in Africa. Now, if we were to bring these nuclear plants in Africa, that would mean that the countries with this uranium would build these nuclear plants, meaning that these countries would have an upper hand in terms of economic growth compared to the other ones. Why should we introduce a concept that would only favor only a small amount of Africa? And she also talked about uranium, right? What if Africa, we were to move and start and build these power plants? Nothing lasts forever. Soon, uranium would also run out. Then what? Then what? Why don't we turn to renewable sources of energy? My first point being, they're saying that we should embrace nuclear energy. But embracing nuclear energy would lead to security risks, not only in Africa, but also in the world. Nuclear energy, its waste products being plutonium and uranium itself. If a September 11 style flying bomb were to be dropped on an urban city, the measures would be catastrophic. What of an atomic bomb dropped on a nuclear power plant? Imagine that. Also, how about the harnessing of this uranium? We'll have to transport it to the countries that need it. There's a security leak that terrorists or war-torn nations would see as an advantage to their side. To steal our uranium, build their own weapons, and then use the same waste products, the same raw materials against us. The risks are just too much. Thank you.
For the question session, the proposers have been asked, if establishment of nuclear plants is expensive, then won't that be a burden on the taxpayers in the country? And the opposers have been asked, why would they still want to maintain the same energy sources that we have been using, yet they have not been enough for us? Why not just go for the nuclear energy? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to answer the question.
My name is Abla Osman from the State House Girls High School. To the question asked, if establishing nuclear technology is expensive, why do it so? Actually, what our wise man once said is, nothing good comes without a sacrifice. And from the results we see is the advantage of a nuclear energy lasts. So why not take this sacrifice and go for something which lasts us forever? And we benefit from it from years to come, where our grandchildren will have the benefit of it. To the opposers, somebody talked about alternative sources. Why not use the alternative sources that are already available? Why go for nuclear energy? Technology, actually. What I want to say is we are not saying that we will fully depend on it. What we are actually saying is we just embrace it and we back it up with the other sources we have. Another thing is nothing lasts forever. When it comes to the part of uranium, as my other partners talked about, Africa produces 18% of the uranium production in the whole world. Well, actually, if we make use of that 18% that's already available in the continent, by the time we're reaching to a moment where it's over, it means we have already moved from where we are to another level. Why not do it so? Another thing is it has created a lot of insecurities in the world. Well, actually, I have a question. Before the colonial era, were we not having wars in Africa? Weren't there clashes between the African tribes in the African continent? Well, actually, nuclear energy is not the source or reason to why we have a lot of wars in Africa. We had wars, and we will have wars if people don't agree. The main cause of a war is people do not agree, actually. We can have the nuclear energy and make use the good of it. We don't have to produce nuclear weapons. We can use nuclear energy and technology in many parts. We can use it in medicine. Instead of the Kenyan people, which have been diagnosed by cancer, going to India, we can have one chemotherapy in Kenya where all Kenyan people can go to. Another thing is somebody said that nuclear technology is not environmental friendly. Well, according to our website called conserveenergy.com, we see that there is a reduction, there is a 32% reduction in the emission of carbon. So the thing you talked about, the harmful gas you talked about is carbon. When we already have an emission in it, why should we not go for it? Another thing is, the reason why we need to embrace nuclear technology is because it's compact. It takes less space. In African countries with a lot of population that we have, this is the only alternative that we can go to, which takes a lesser space compared to the turbines. Abla Osman, this State House Girls High School. Thank you.
Third opposer, you have 3 minutes to answer the question.
My name is Sarah Njoki of Karima Girls. Why should we not embrace nuclear technology in meeting our energy demands when the renewable energy sources that we have failed? I would like to say that this, as my friend said, takes about 4 billion to construct and takes about $2 billion in planning. So why not use these funds? Why not use this cash in development of other sectors like education, improving transport sector, and health? According to the OECD Nuclear Energy Agency, Africa holds only 18% of the uranium in the world and not the 80%. On to my first point. Africa should not embrace the nuclear technology in meeting her energy needs because of environmental hazards. The nuclear processes that take place have radioactive byproducts. These materials can seep into the water tables and contaminate the water, therefore causing adverse effects in the environment. On health, radioactive materials, if consumed or if one is exposed to the radioactivity, can cause genetic mutation. As in the case of Fukushima, that happened on March 2011, it led to over 4,000 cancer cases. Up to date, there's still vaccination to curb this genetic mutation. Now, what are the effects of this? It increases the government expenditure. Because of the continuous vaccination, it is not yet known how far or how long this mutation can take place. Also, the area that was affected by the Chernobyl accident of Ukraine has been declared unsafe for inhabitation for approximately 180 to 320 years. should that happen in African countries where the population is very high and the land is not that large to accommodate the population, what should we do? This will also have effects on the land population because it will increase the population pressure in the region. Therefore, that is why we shouldn't embrace this nuclear technology. There is also water pollution. When this water seeps into the water table, it contaminates the oceans. It also affects the phytoplanktons, therefore distracting the food chain. With all due respect, I think this nuclear technology should be embraced in countries where no citizen goes hungry, where the economy is stable, where every child can afford education easily. Thank you.
Proposition, you have 1 minute to close your case.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by saying that there are disadvantages, but the advantages dwarf out the downside. First of all, we did say there were 18 and not 80% of uranium is found in Africa. Well, I'd like you to pose a question on you. By the time we exhaust that uranium, how far would we have developed? And you say that we could use the money and put it in other places of development. Development needs energy, and this energy that's being provided by these other sources is simply not enough. Yes, there are accidents, but I would like you also to see that an accident that took place in 1986, yes, it is fatal. The next accident was in 2011. Look at that gap. We are not refusing that it's fatal, but as we said, if we want progress, we need to be ready to sacrifice. Take an example of an airplane. As the Wright brothers started the development, how many planes crashed? And look at how it is today. There will be accidents along the way. I am not refusing. But we cannot let this rule us. Our faith has to be stronger than our fear. And these accidents occur due to people's mistake. A machine does not make a mistake. It is a human being. And there are developments that will take place to better this technology. So let's not use an ad hominem attack using negative attitude towards the technology. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 1 minute to wrap up your case.
The risks involved are just too catastrophic. Environmental hazards, security, not to mention the cost, which is just too overwhelmingly high. Why don't we embrace renewable sources of energy? Because there's almost always one renewable energy that each country in Africa could embrace. There are tides for islands, sun for equatorial countries, and rocks for volcanic countries, to mention just but a few. According to SDG number 12, Africa should take urgent action to combat climatic change by regulating emulsions and promoting production of renewable energy. When we lose our judgment, at least let's keep our hearts for the people's sake. There's no need at the moment to find another new power source. Let us use the money to develop the ones we already have. Thank you.
To Status Girls, Nicole, I think the straight question I had for you as the first speaker is the case that you built, because we needed to understand what are the needs that Africa has, especially when it comes to the matters energy or the subject on the table. So it was important for you to tell us, these are the needs that we have. And if we addressed these needs, this is what would happen. And nuclear energy would address this, or nuclear technology would address this much. Doreen, good cross-examination, and I think you came in as well as quite energetic for your team. Good submissions, especially with reduction to reliance on fossils and the likes. Abla as well, I think you're also very confident, and I love the submissions that you gave. Good submissions and role-playing as well. I think you cross-examined and as well as answered the question. To Karima girls, to Shanice, I think you dwelt more on the demerits of the cost involved and all that, and you're very passionate. But Jacqueline as well took the passion angle higher, and I think you were believable. From where we sat, we had to listen to you because of how passionate you were. Very good points as well. Sarah, thanks for the figures. I think you came as a very sober debater. The figures that you gave us about the cost that would involve, the number of years and all that, and even the examples of the genetic mutations that would happen out of this. So to Karima as well, that was well done. Let us wait for the results.
Ladies and gentlemen, the judges have deliberated, and with a margin of 1%, our winners for this debate with 71% is Karima Girls High School. Let's appreciate them with a round of applause. With 70%, we have State House Girls. Let's also appreciate them with a round of applause. So job well done. Congratulations to both teams.
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, and winning today is only this one step towards greatness. I have been your host, Esperanza Kapanga.
And I have been Chris Boro.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.